welcome to episode 33 of Talk Tantra to me. It is such an honor to be holding space for this divine knowledge to make its way into your ears and lifestyle. So today we're going to be talking about abundance mindset and the frequency of money. This is something that touches all of us and is also deeply related to how we experience pleasure and even sexuality. So touching in with abundance mindset and frequency of money, I would like to just draw attention to episode 1 of this podcast, which is Sex Magic 101. So it's all about manifesting. And many of us, when we think about manifesting, one of the main things that we want to manifest is abundance of any kind, abundance of opportunities, abundance of finances, abundance of healthy relationships, right? But what it comes down to in this episode is that you can call in all of these things. You can ask the universe. But if you're not following up with integration, if you're not checking in with your mindset, you're creating blocks for this abundance to come in, right? If you're telling the universe, I want this, but then your thought patterns unconsciously are saying otherwise, are focused on lack mindset, then you're blocking that abundance from coming your way. So just to overview, lack mindset is this belief that there is not enough. And this is something that in my upbringing, and I think for many of us, it's really ingrained from the beginning. There's never enough snack. There's never enough money to do all of, the toys that you want to buy, or all the activities that you want to take part in. If you have siblings, that's a whole other issue. I know for myself, there was this, like even in moving to Los Angeles, which is, one of those most expensive cities in the world to live in, it was always one of those things, well, you could never make that work. It's just too expensive. When in reality, you're not focusing on, wow, but there's all this opportunity there as well. So understanding where that comes from and how we can begin to dismantle that is going to be super important in this work. And also our beliefs around worth. Are you worthy of that raise? Are you worthy of calling in this abundance? Right? Are you worthy of receiving experiences, whether it's, through a financial path or the experience that is a gift from someone else or a gift from the universe, right? A lack mentality is basically this idea of scarcity. Most people are told that there is just not enough to go around, right? And this affects how we subconsciously seek, spend, and save money. When you are always operating under the assumption that money is going to be scarce, you're not going to have enough, then you're going to be acting more in a reaction space rather than in a rational space. You're going to be constantly operating under this frequency, these limiting beliefs that are going to keep you rooted in a limited reality, right? But when you start to be able to understand what are my limiting beliefs around abundance, then you can unpack those, decide if they still work with you. P.S. They don't. But you can decide for yourself. And then you can begin to consciously bring in thought patterns and action patterns and verbal patterns that are in alignment with abundance, right? So also understanding that money is neutral. It's a tool. It's a neutral frequency, like water. It's our belief and conditioning that creates these limiting or expansive patterns around money. And again, I think that most people in this reality are living in a frequency in which they believe money is limited, that there's only so much to go around, when in reality this is an abundant resource, right? There's more than enough in this world. Just unfortunately at this point, so many of us are operating under a limited frequency that it's only being used by, the top 5%. Etc. So there's this quote, I'm not sure who said it, but it's life begins when money stops defining who you are. Can you imagine the possibilities for yourself when you begin to unleash yourself from the limiting patterns that are currently governing your reality around abundance? What opportunities would you call in? What type of investments would you make in yourself? Would you make in the people that you love when money stops defining your ability to do that? So how you make money can either be rooted in fear and pressure to hit a certain number, or it can be playful and fun, and it can be a game of figuring it out. And for me, I know from experience, both with myself and the people that I've worked with, that when you start doing what you love, everything else tends to fall into place, right? There are ways to make your passion, put that paired with purpose, and then you can create an income around that, which is really exciting. So I want to touch in and kind of put this on the framework that I use often with Tantra, which is the Kundalini chakra system. So to review, chakras are subtle energy bodies located along a central channel in our bodies, basically along the spine. There are 7 main chakras going up from the base of the spine all the way to the crown of the head, and each is associated with a different aspect of our being. And understanding these chakras may help you identify where you have energetic blocks, lingering fears, and then you're able to work through them for a more liberated, more expansive, and more abundant human experience. So touching in with where does the frequency of abundance fall into this chakra system? So there's also an episode, I think it's episode 6, that goes into detail on each of these chakras, but staying on the subject of abundance, money mindset, this falls into our second chakra, which is our sacral chakra. So just to kind of make our way up there, I'm going to start with the root chakra, which is our first chakra located at the base of the spine. The root chakra is responsible for our feelings of safety and security in this world. So when we have a balanced root chakra, we're free of anxiety. We know that the earth is going to support us, that the earth has all of the things that we need to survive: food, water, shelter, community, right? So when we feel safe and secure, and a good way to illustrate this actually is, at the beginning of the pandemic, everyone stressed the fuck out, super anxious. What did? They bulk buy toilet paper. It's this irrational energy that tends to take over when we feel like our safety and security is being threatened. And then we're not able to liberate that energy into our sacral chakra, which is all about creating our reality and experiencing emotional expression and pleasure. So the sacral chakra, again, is the second chakra. So when we feel safe and secure, we begin to consciously create our reality from a place rooted in safety, rooted in security. So when we're creating, and the sacral chakra is really our womb space. So creativity or creation is how we express our emotions or our energy in motion. When we think of creativity, we often think of painting or dancing or listening to music. And that makes sense, right? Because each of these things touch on our emotions. When we hear a song that really resonates with our current emotional frequency, our current energy in motion, we really light up, and that draws it out of us. It allows that energy to move through and out of our body, right? So understanding that as a baseline, and also recognizing that every decision that you make is a creation, every decision. So in this way, what we buy is a creation. The people that we are relating to, those are co-creations. Relationships are co-creations. And in the sacral chakra, this is also where we are experiencing ways to create channels for abundance and channels for pleasure. In this way, it's also really important to understand that the frequencies in the sacral chakra are ruled by an energy that's like water. So the root chakra is like the earth, right? It's solid, it's foundational, it's there, it's something that you kind of gather and you create from it. Whereas water, which is ruling the sacral chakra, is a lot more fluid. It's a lot more like a flow. So the energies in this space, if they're moving like water, we can't quite hold on to them, right? Like if you go to a river and you're sitting by the river and you try to grasp on to the river, try to hold on to it, not only are you missing the point of, water, which is just to feel the flow, trusting that there's always more coming, not only are you missing that immense joy and presence that it is to sit with the water moving through your fingers or through your body, but you also will become frustrated because, again, that's just not how it works. You can't just grab onto it. And that's how it is with all emotional frequencies in this space, all emotion, energy in motion. You have to just let it flow. So it's the same with pain. If we try to hold on to the pain, it's just going to become more, intense, right? Or it might become something that we start to identify as a part of who we are when it's really not. Or if we try to push it away and not acknowledge the pain at all, then we're also missing the point of allowing that to flow through our bodies. And what ends up happening with something like pain, if you're avoiding experiencing that, if you're avoiding letting these things flow, it's like if you put a dam in the river and all of the water is coming and it's creating this pressure, and you're avoiding it and you're like, oh, it's not there. And then suddenly all of that pressure breaks free, and then you have this essential explosion of gushing water, and you have in the way that this would manifest in your life would be you'd have an emotional breakdown and a place and a time that might not be the most ideal for you. And I'm sure we've all experienced this. We've tried to remain cool, calm, and collected, and then we just have this intense breakdown, like at the grocery store, or we project it onto a partner or a friend or someone we work with, etc. So understanding that part of this chakra as well, but getting back to the focus on money mindset and abundance. It's what we often like to do with pleasure is when, a good experience comes to us, whether it's getting a raise or, having this incredible orgasm that's super pleasurable, or we're just having like the perfect day. Our mind starts to go to, it's not going to last. Everything's too good, right? And that's that idea of like, how do I hold on to this thing? And the key here is acknowledging that this too shall pass. Whether your energy in motion is at a low vibration, it feels difficult, it's grief, it's pain, it's sadness, or if it's at a high vibration, also understanding that this too will pass. And that's what life is on this planet, where we're moving through polarities and duality all the time. However, with consciousness and awareness, we can begin to live in alignment more, so we're experiencing more of that pleasure and abundance, while also celebrating the pain and the grief as opportunities to learn and to grow, which means that we move through those more difficult frequencies with ease and with gratitude. Okay? So understanding that this energy of money moves like water. This energy of abundancy moves like a flow. It's fluid. And in this way, you have to let it flow for more to come in. So you have to let your abundance go to let in more. So in this way, one of my greatest integration pieces for you is to invest in yourself, to financially invest in yourself, to invest time into yourself, to set boundaries that create space for you to invest in yourself, in your quality time with yourself. Okay? So I know from my experience, I started when I first started this journey of manifesting abundance and pleasure and joy, I started by investing what I could, which wasn't a lot. Maybe it was $100 or $200 a month. I was buying some books, maybe, going to some sound bath classes. And primarily I was investing a lot of time. I had a lot of time to invest. I was spending a lot of time figuring out what I liked. I was investing my time to paint and to practice foreign language and to journal every day. Okay? And it's also important to understand your intention with your investments. So every dollar you spend is a decision. It's a creation. It is a vote for the type of life you are stepping into. So it's really important to look at, how am I spending my money now? What kinds of foods am I buying? That's what I am putting in my body now is an investment in who I am in the future. So I want to invest in what's going to set me up to call in more, right? And to align me with my purpose. For me, I see that every element of my life, every single thing that I do is in alignment with my purpose. My primary partner, my relationship, has to be in alignment with me being able to express my purpose. The exercises that I do are there for me to remain grounded and present with myself. If I don't take that time to meditate and to move my body, I know that I'm not going to be able to show up authentically for my purpose, for the people in my community that I'm serving. So understanding that as well. Even something like buying a convertible. I bought this convertible. Who needs a convertible? It's not like, is that an ego thing? Let's unpack this, okay? So when I had to get a car, I lived in LA for a couple of years without a car. It finally became time that I needed one for work. And I could have just gotten a used car, paid $5,000, gotten it out of the way. And instead, I looked at what type of vehicle is going to be in the most alignment with my highest self. And to me, something like a convertible where the air is blowing through my hair and into my heart space allows me to feel super free, super expansive, and super heart opened, which also allows me to show up for my appointments more in alignment with my purpose. So you can see that even something that can appear very ego-driven can become something that's purpose-driven when you're using conscious intention in this way. Okay? Also understanding that the more that you invest in yourself, the more it's going to be returned tenfold. Every dollar that I've spent has been returned. Last year, I probably spent probably under 3 to 5K on myself, probably under 3K. The year before that, it was probably under 500, maybe 1,000. And the year before that, it was even less. And now we're seeing this year, I've already invested, at least 10K, and we're halfway through the year. And I'm fully ready to do the other 10K because my income has quadrupled in the past 3 years. And I'm ready for it to skyrocket, right? Like, I know now this is proven that your investment will be returned. And it's trusting that too, trusting that you will make the right investments. Okay, so some more practical tips for understanding abundance, understanding the frequency of money, more integration practices for you. So at the beginning of the month, I set 3 goals for my income. One is just the basics. Like, I need to make this amount to cover my bare minimum, my rent, my groceries, bills, just the basics. Then I have my reasonable reach, something that's like, I make this about this much every month anyways, and it allows me to have a bit more to invest in myself, to invest in experiences, and to enjoy pleasure, the pleasure of money, to save maybe as well. And then I have a goal that's over the moon. Like, it would be insane if I reached this. It's reasonably possible, but it's also a bit of a reach. So I'll go through this, for example. When I first started doing this really, really consciously was about 3 years ago. And I think that my necessary, my basic that I needed to survive was 3K. And then I think that my reach was 4K. Or I'm sorry, yeah, my reach, the amount that I've made 4K before. And also want to preface, I'm a freelancer. I've always been a freelancer. I've always been an independent contractor and an entrepreneur. So in this space, there's a lot more room for fluctuation for income. One month I could make 10K, the next month I could make 2K. It's hard to say, right? So understanding that as a basic, and that's kind of who I'm talking to mostly in this moment right now. And I think that a lot of people that are in the space of having a more salary type of, experience might relate to this in a different way. But continuing with that, my basic was 3K, my reach was 4K, and my over the moon was 5 or 6K. Now all of those have doubled. Now my basic, what I know that I need is about, I guess it's probably what I need is 5 or 6, maybe 5, if I'm being honest with myself. If I was, on at 5. My reach is, my goal this year was to make 100K. So my reach is making that, the amount of 8,333 each month over 12 months will put me at 100K. So that was my reach, 8,333. Now my over the moon, I just reassessed. So I made 50K by June. So I actually would like to be able to take off 2 months at the end of the year to focus on writing on my book and to invest time fully into myself and into my future. So how much do I need to make over the next 4 months to still hit 100K? And I found out that number was 12,500 each month. So now that's my over the moon. And I'm really excited because today, the day that I'm filming this, I reached that number for this month on June 14th. Halfway through the month, I reached that number. And I'm like, what? Crazy. I did some sex magic last night. Again, refer to episode 1 of this podcast if you'd like more information. But I did some sex magic last night, and this morning I woke up to a new client signing with me, which put me over that 12,500 mark. So I'm super excited about that. And I love that I and this kind of goes into the next tip that I have for you. And that is recognizing, are you comfortable talking about money? And what gets in the way of you talking about money? I know for me, I was raised to not talk about sex, religion, or money, finances. And these are all pretty taboo topics, but they're also super expansive topics. They're places where people can be triggered. And to me, a trigger is an invitation to go deeper into your human experience, to ask questions about, why does it bother me that this person makes more than me? Why does it bother me that they make so much less? What are my foundational beliefs around money? If it's bothering me that they're making more or they're making less, to me it's saying that I don't believe that they have the ability to make more. I believe that this frequency of money is not an infinite frequency. I believe that there's only so much. So it's also asking yourself those questions, right? So my hope is that we all get to a place where we feel comfortable talking about money. We all feel comfortable getting a sense of where we're at in our understanding of this, because when we're fearing something, we're pushing it further away. Okay? So to expand on that idea of having, an attainable goal, just getting the basics, then your reach, going a little bit beyond, your norm, but definitely still attainable, and then your over the moon income. Essentially what you want to do with that is then start planning your income at the beginning of the month. This is especially important for freelancers or people that have a couple of different jobs, or maybe even if you do have a salary, but you have a passion project on the side, or, some other part-time business. Then you're going to break that down into, I'm going to get X amount of money from coaching. I'm going to get X amount of money from this event. I'm going to get X amount of money from doing this project for someone, etc. And so you obviously start with things that are pretty much set in stone, like your regular income. But then you could say, I might be able to sign a couple clients this month if I do a marketing, plan, right? And so then you say, what would it look like if I sold 3 coaching packages? Well, that would get me to my over the moon. But if I only sold 1, that would get me to, my reach. And if I sold none, well, I still have my attainable and basics that, my other income is covering. Does that make sense? So essentially, you can kind of play with what packages you offer and what would I need to get to each of these points. And so with that in mind, then you can say, well, this is the best use of my time, is to go ahead and do this marketing, plan that will potentially push me to the reach or the over the moon goal, right? You also want to be really mindful of being able to see that abundance comes in many different ways. So seeing free things almost as income and expressing gratitude for those things. Having someone pay for dinner is kind of like free money. Having, free Wi-Fi on your flight is kind of like free money. How can you look at these things as parts of your income and express gratitude for those? And in that way, for each, dollar that comes in, on my spreadsheet where I have, this is my plan for the month, then I also have, this is what really is going on in the month. So as soon as, I sell that one, coaching package, I'll put next to it, thank you, in bold. So I'm acknowledging this was received. Thank you. Thank you, universe, for seeing my, intention to call in, a container for someone to grow through my purpose, and honoring that equal energetic exchange. Thank you. So I'll do the same with free things. And I actually used to even have a spreadsheet that was like, so-and-so took me to dinner. Thank you for that free dinner. And I would have like that just to see how much free things am I getting in a month, and how much would it add up to? It can kind of even be a game in that way. In this way, when you're expressing gratitude, you are like a magnet attracting more. This is the law of attraction, and this is something that I talk about, again, more in length in episode 1 of this podcast, Sex Magic 101, episode 1. So also on that note of gratitude, showing gratitude to be paying for things, to be paying for our bills. Oftentimes when we spend money, it goes back to that lack of like, oh, like I'm getting this, but I'm having to give up all of this money. Ugh, paying rent. Ugh, getting bills in the mail. Ugh. When in reality, you could shift your perspective and instead say, I get to pay this bill. Some people don't get to pay bills. They just don't. That's because they're either, not in that place abundantly, they're homeless or whatever it is, or they're, getting to a place where they're becoming insecure with their money. They just don't have enough to almost meet those goals. Or maybe they're, they have someone else that takes care of those things for them, which is all good and fine and well. But how fun is it to be able to say, like, I am investing this $2,000 a month to have this beautiful apartment. That's really cool, right? Paying for my groceries. Thank you. I get all of this abundance of various fruits and vegetables and sauces, etc. So being able to say thank you for getting to pay the bill instead of having to pay the bill. Small shift in perspective makes a huge difference. My last thing that is really huge, really, really huge, especially when you're manifesting. We often do this thing where we say, universe, I would like 10K. Please give me 10K. Like, I want to manifest this money. Or it could even look something like, I would like to manifest 3 new projects or sales or whatever it is this month. Great. That's not a bad way to start. You could go further by saying something like, selling 3 more projects is going to touch this many more people, and I'm working in a place that my career or my work, the way that I draw in abundance is in alignment with my purpose. So when I sell something, I'm reaching more people and spreading light and love into the world. So then it becomes purpose driven, which makes it that much more powerful, which is why in my opinion, it's very important that, ideally your work starts to become purpose driven in one way or another. Okay. Another thing with manifestation that I think takes it even further, this is like, you have level 1, which is like, I want 10K. Level 2 is like, I want 10K because it allows me to reach all this people, and it also allows me to serve myself with that money so that I'm able to expand my business and reach more people in various ways, right? That's level 2. Level 3 is to go really deep and say, universe, please give me experiences and challenges that are going to show me where my limiting beliefs are, that will show me where my abundance mindset is not reaching. Okay? When that happens, you'll start to have real things come up that will challenge you. So I did this a few months ago. I specifically did a ritual that was around manifestation, and beautifully enough, the next day I went on a date. It was my first date with my current partner, actually. And we went to dinner and had a bottle of wine. We had appetizers. We had salads. We had entrees. We had dessert. This was like going to be a pricey dinner. And I go into like every date thinking like, I'm comfortable like paying my share. I do think that it's a beautiful thing to gift and to honor someone by picking up the check, but it's not my expectation either. So when the bill comes, I reach for my wallet and he says, I'm going to pay for this, but I want to play a game. I play this game with, my friends. And I'm like, okay. And immediately my like defenses are going up thinking like, what is this going to fucking be? I don't know if this is in alignment with what I want to be experiencing right now. And so essentially this game that he had was that you had to guess the total of the bill. And my inner like critic, my fear starts rising, and I'm thinking, well, that's really like, I don't like that he's asking me to guess the bill. Like, that's not very, classy. It's insensitive. And then I started to see like, whoa, I'm triggered. This is interesting. And this is the beautiful thing about, working on yourself, working on your shadow. You start to just observe your reactions. You start to see again how when you are living from a lack mindset or a scarcity mindset, you have this unconscious pattern running and you're not even aware of it. But when you set the intention and you ask the universe, please show me, the universe goes, boop, here's an experience for you to see something that you're missing. I thought that I was like, I feel like I'm pretty abundant. Why am I not calling in this? The abundance that I deserve, and the abundance that will help fulfill my purpose, whatever. The universe came in and showed me, this is it. This is one of those things. You're afraid to talk about money right now. That's what it came down to. I didn't want to talk about money. I didn't want to feel like my worth was being questioned with how much this dinner was. I would have been more than happy to just pay for my dinner and affirm that for myself. But how interesting is it for someone to affirm that externally? So anyways, we have this game where we have to guess the bill. And so I'm adding it up in my head and I pick a number. And then it's like this uncomfortable, like, did I guess too high? Did I guess too low? Whatever. And as I unpacked this the next day, I realized, like, yes, this is what it was. I was afraid to talk about money. I was afraid to talk about this frequency as if there's not enough, as if he doesn't have, this dialed in and have an abundance, as if I don't either. So that's just one example of how this can manifest and how you can see, like, you're triggered in a way that it's very easy for you to put it off on the other person, to say, well, they're weird to even suggest something so, callous. And in reality, I'm being invited to look at my limiting beliefs. Okay? So those are some of my tips for being aware of your money mindset, for calling in more abundance, for getting a handle on what are your limiting beliefs and how do you have an abundance mindset and how do you understand the frequency of money. So with that being said, this is a great starting point for you. However, there's nothing like working one-on-one with someone to really go into a tailored approach at what are your limiting beliefs. How do you grow through them and identify your highest truths? So I currently offer a 6-month coaching program that is focused on the Kundalini chakras. These are 8 major energetic points in the body. As I discussed earlier, we'll touch into each of these energetic centers for you, looking at your specific trauma, your specific conditioning, to see how that's holding you back so that you can liberate yourself and grow through it. So my one-to-one mentorship programs are directly tailored to you, to your needs, to your preferences, and to your boundaries. I always start with a free discovery call in which I will suggest a framework that fits your deepest desires, addresses your biggest challenges, and capitalizes on your greatest potential for growth. And if we decide I'm not a good fit, I'm happy to suggest one of the other amazing coaches in my community or some other, resources that I think that you might benefit from. So you can get more information on this by visiting www.talktantratome.com/work-with-me, or just click on the Work With Me tab. You'll also notice some other one-on-one, in-person, and event options on my website if you're interested in other ways to connect. So I want to express my gratitude to you, the listener. Thank you once more for opening yourself up to the idea of sacred sexuality. And if this podcast resonates with you, I'd love to hear it in the reviews or in the comments. It means the world to me to hear your perspective, and your engagement also helps this podcast become a bit more relevant in search results, which means that more people are able to benefit from the wisdom of spiritual intimacy. And if you'd like to take an even more proactive role in awakening the collective to sacred sexuality, I'd love it if you screenshotted this podcast or this video and shared it on your social media. And if you do so, please tag me at Talk Tantra to me so that I can thank you personally. With so much gratitude and love, have a sexy and spiritual day, and I'll catch you next week on Talk Tantra to me. Ta-ta!